In South Korea, teachers are known as nation builders. Here in America, it's time we treated the people who educate our children with the same level of respect.
Angry parents are protesting outside of Sherman Oaks School this morning. CBS 2's Christine Lazar is live outside Millikan Middle School with a look at why parents are so upset with the LAUSD. Christine.
Well, LAUSD has sent out pink slips to 7,300 employees district-wide. Here at Millikan Middle School, they face losing about 17 teachers.
My name's Sean Quinn. My employee number is 737426.
My name is Nicolette Witten. My employee number is 987409.
I am Damian Roth, 805973.
My name is Megan Ross. My employee number is 789036.
My name is Michelle Wolfson. My employee ID number is 1004263.
I became a teacher first of all because I love kids.
Some days good, some days bad, but it's always the students I come back for.
I wanted to be the kind of adult that I needed when I was a kid.
I just knew it was in my DNA.
When I first walked in the classroom at Millikan, I knew that was it. That was the end of the story. I had chosen my career and there was nothing else I wanted to do.
I fell in love with it. The interaction I had with the students, feeling like I was sharing my love and passion with my students.
I feel lucky. I started teaching at 21 and I loved it from day one.
I can't do anything but smile every day when I come in because I know it's going to be another beautifully creative day.
I feel like I've always been a teacher. I don't remember a time when there was something else I was going to do.
When I was in high school, I had some very good history teachers, and that made me want to be a history teacher even more.
My background was both physical therapy and art, and so I thought that nothing better could be than to work at a magnet performing arts school.
I was a political science major, and I wanted to impact how our future generation feels about the world.
I thought, hey, I could really contribute to society.
My kids are going to be the future of America.
I can't tell you how many students come back and tell me how their lives are different because of this one class.
Our world has become so pessimistic and so apathetic about everything. I'm very optimistic about people making a difference in the world, and I think that kids are the first place you should start.
Guys, hang in there. It's a long road. You're doing a great job. You know, like I've said before, especially those teachers who've been ripped now 2 or 3 times. This year it's been the hardest. It's unlike last year where it was more sad. This year it's more like a death, and I can see the various stages of mourning that our teachers are going through.
My name is Dr. Christy Steffen, a family practice physician, and I work in Tahunga. This letter that was sent out March 2nd to the LAUSD teachers. Included in the letter were some helpful hints, including talking to a trusted friend or family member for the support, making sure you're taking care of your physical and mental health with good eating habits, exercise. You got to go through this process over and over again. And it can make you feel physically and emotionally very sick. There are patients who request medication for insomnia. Is probably the most often used medication during these kind of times. Medications for insomnia, some need medications for anxiety, and some antidepressants. A lot of times there's shame that goes with losing a job, and they really don't feel like their family members understand.
This is my third RIF notice.
I've been teaching for 3 years. This will be my 3rd time. So this is my 3rd year at my 3rd RIF notice.
I've been riffed 3 times.
I've been at Millikan 4 years, and I've been riffed 4 times.
Technically, this is my first one because I'm a brand new teacher. I am probationary 2. And as a probationary 2 teacher, they would not allow me to finish out any more work.
It was like being hit by a bus.
Getting the RIF letter this year has been one of the most difficult things for me because it's the third year in a row, and I sort of feel that this year they really mean it.
The district had to cut 85 teacher librarians. I don't know where that number came from, but that's how many they decided to cut. So they put us in order by when we started with the district and cut the most recent 85 of us. We were not displaced to the classrooms to go back to our other teaching credentials, and some teacher librarians have 3 or 4 different teaching credentials because we haven't used those teaching credentials within the last 5 years. 5 years was the limit. And it makes sense in some ways because you don't want someone who has not been teaching in a subject recently to be able to bump out another teacher who has been doing so. But the teacher librarians do teach that subject. Every day I teach English, every day I teach math, every day I teach science and history. I teach any subject to any student who comes in and needs help with that subject. It was a sad basement of a warehouse with some folding chairs and some desks set up, and the lawyers would ask questions like how many students are on your roster, and how many hours a day do you teach English versus how many hours a day do you teach science, and do you assign grades, and who determines the lesson that you will teach when a class comes in? Is it you or the science teacher who comes in? And if it was, then they would ask questions that had nothing to do with teaching. Do you use ISIS, which is what we use for keeping roll every day? Of course we use ISIS, but everyone in the district uses ISIS. The clerical staff uses ISIS. Then they would ask us questions about the names of different positions on campus. They asked one teacher librarian, what is an SAA? And I think that's one of the administrative assistants in the office. I think it's senior office assistant, if I'm remembering correctly. But we couldn't figure out what that had to do with anything. But they would just ask questions to make the teacher librarians look like they didn't know what they were doing. The district lawyers were doing their job, but their job was to discredit the teacher on the stand, on trial, and prove that they didn't deserve to keep their job anymore.
Got hired as a district intern. I was very, very lucky. That year, things just all started to go bad. And I got a RIF notice that year, which I was expecting because I knew I was an intern and I was at the very bottom of the pile. That summer, I just kind of hoped and waited that something would happen, that something, would turn around, and nothing happened. They did tell me I could come back as a sub. So I thought, okay, we'll try that out. I got called back to Millikan, and I got called back a month into the school year for the lady who was supposed to take my position. And I got to come back for the whole school year. I went through the whole year thinking, God, this is amazing, I'm here. But I've never been permanent, and it's a really hard thing to not be a permanent teacher. I don't have access to kids' information, parent phone numbers, anything like that. I have to go down to the main office to get that kind of stuff, attendance. And every month it was, am I going to be here again? Am I going to be here next month? Am I going to be here, the following week? And I had to keep telling the kids, well, they haven't said so far that I'm not leaving, so I guess I'm going to be here next month. So that was really, really hard because you have attachments with your kids, you form bonds with your kids, and you have things that you want to do with them that are exciting that are coming up, and you can't plan long-term things if you're only going to be here the next month, and then you don't know about the following month or the following month. Well, I ended up being here the whole school year, which was great, but then the summer came, and once again I was without a job and had no idea what was going to happen, and sitting at home on my couch depressed. The first day of school came around, and Melody at the main office called me and said, we want you to come in. And I thought, I was just going to help out with the textbook room or something, but I was just excited to be here, to be at Millikan again, no matter what, because I love this school. This is my home. This is the only school I've ever taught at. And I feel like if I wasn't here, part of me would be gone. So I came back and Melody, the first day of school, handed me my keys and said, okay, you're in your old classroom again. So this was 3 years in a row that I just got so lucky. But every year it's that painful, I don't know if I'm going to be here again. Mr. Plevac, you know, when I talked to him this year, he said, you could be bumped at any time. You know, anytime between now and norm day, you could be gone. So we want you to prepare for that, you know, likelihood of that happening. And that just hanging over your head alone is craziness. I mean, it makes you so nervous. And once again, it makes you think, why am I putting in all this effort, you know, doing all these things, and you know they're amazing. You want to do it for the kids because I love my job and I love what I do, but it just is so hard when you know you could be gone in a month or you could be gone, you know, whatever. So once again, I'm here till the end of the year and I'm thanking my lucky stars, but this summer, I don't know what I'm doing again. And there's no jobs and I'm on no lists because there's other teachers that keep getting bumped every year and the likelihood of me getting anywhere is non-existent. So I just keep hoping and praying, and that's what I have to do every single year.
Previous to this job, I taught as an itinerant elementary traveling music teacher for LAUSD for 4 years out in the East LA and Boyle Heights area. And last spring, I did receive a RIF notice saying that I was going to be let go from the district. And then a month or two later, it was rescinded, and I was told I was just going to be displaced from the elementary job. So they weren't going to completely remove me from the district, but they weren't going to let me teach music in the elementary schools. And this displacement notice was given to over 100 music teachers. So what they were planning on doing with these music teachers, the majority of them were going to go to a school and become a pool teacher, where they would go into everyday subbing or basically just be property of the school to use however they want. So here we are, you know, certificated in music, reaching out to hundreds of students every week because we go to so many different schools. They weren't going to take away our pay, but they were going to just put us at a school site and basically have us do whatever work they deemed fit for us. And none of us could understand, why won't they just let us do what we are here to do? You know, why are you going to put us into a school to become a substitute or to make Xerox copies all day? If you're going to pay us, let us do our job.
I have every year seen RIF notices go out to teachers. You know, many of my son's teachers have received them. And the first year I had no idea what that was even. So I asked around and spoke to some of his teachers who'd gotten them, and it was explained to me, and I thought, this is crazy. How you're getting a notice that you're not going to have your job, and yet you might have your job. So you're stuck in this quandary for anywhere from 3 to 6 months waiting to find out whether you're going to have a job again.
You know, every year we're writing letters as parents, trying to get someone to listen, someone to understand that I don't know how teachers can teach a third of the year with something hanging over them saying, you're not going to have a job come the end of June.
I started realizing and noticing that it was actually taking a toll on these teachers. Especially, some of them I knew better than others, and I would see towards the end of the year when I could actually tell when they'd gotten their RIF notices. I didn't even have to be told. The whole feeling would change at the school, and there was like an anxiety.
At some of the parent meetings, parents are trying to figure out what we can do, and I think we're all just so worn out after 3 years of fighting this that, you know, we're sort of throwing our hands up. We don't really know what to do.
I think the worst thing about the RIFs have been the disheartenment that I've seen in so many teachers, and how hard it was for 20% of our staff to come to Millikan every day because they knew they didn't have a place to go in the fall. It has given me a very limited time that I have with my students, as opposed to thinking ahead, or that's something we can put together for next year, or let's wait on that or see what can happen. I pretty much had to go everything to the wall and try and get it all out in the next 4 months. My students have actually been very supportive in keeping me whole and rounded and well balanced, and I think they're more depressed about me leaving at this point than I am.
I definitely distanced myself from the students, and I didn't want to build the same relationships knowing that I wasn't going to be here, because I had already seen students get so upset that I wouldn't be here and that the library would be closed, that I didn't want to make it any harder on anyone else.
It brings about a lot of anxiety, and not just over what am I going to do, what am I going to do for my family, what am I going to do, for me. It was about what is happening to education.
I'm trying to focus on the now because there's just so much going on in the program. I'm here for the students, and I don't want what's happening to me personally to affect my students, but it gets me down. I almost want to think, like, why bother? If the school district isn't going to care about me, why should I care about the school? Why should I care about this job? But I know it's not this school, and I know it's not these students, and it's not their parents who are taking my job away. I just hope that people know how hard it is as a teacher every day to come into class and be with amazing kids, but also deal with all the issues of school and be a good teacher, be a great teacher if you can, and then not know that you're coming back tomorrow, or not know that you're coming back next year. That's probably one of the most difficult things that I will ever deal with, because right now I'm thinking, I love my school, I love my job, but at this rate, at how it's going, I don't know if I'll be able to do it forever. And that's what I want to do, is do this forever.
Unfortunately, in this state, we go through this little crisis about every 20 years. This is the worst one I've seen. And I ask you to hang in there, because we are on the verge of losing a generation of teachers. And I've said this many times, about the time I'm going to retire 8 years from now, it's going to be that cover of Time magazine. It's going to be the front of a classroom, all the chairs and seats, the chalkboard, and the silhouette of a teacher. Where did all the teachers go? And I hate to see this district, hate to see education put itself back in a place where we start mass producing teachers just to fill a classroom and not training and teaching teachers how to do the art that they do, because that's a mistake we made in the 90s. And people came into education that were not prepared, and our students suffered. And I don't want to see that happen again. And I don't want to see this core of teachers that we're losing go and not come back, because they're not going to be replaced, and if they are replaced, it's going to be replaced with a body, not necessarily a teacher.
Every year, people who received these letters, it was heartbreaking. This year seemed to be like the whole bottom came out. Even the anticipation of getting those letters, there was already an undermining of staff morale. And then upon getting it, it's always, when you do receive it, another shock. And the show goes on.
I think that you've got to make sure that the kids can function on the premise that the glass is half full, and that that's what's going to be their lot in life. Not that the person that they care about is going to be yanked out from under them. And it doesn't make any difference whether they're kindergarten or whether they're 12th graders. They need to know that there's some stability around them.
I would think it's very frightening for children to have the fear of losing their teacher.
This year, when I spoke to one of the teachers at CSUN and said, Steve, what's the program going to look like next year? And he said, I have 25 student teachers. That means what was usually near 200 a semester has dwindled this year to 25 student teachers.
They know there are no jobs. How do you continue to pay higher tuition costs? The university, I think this year, has increased its tuition more than 20%.
I just think that they got to clean up their act in Sacramento. I mean, the president says we need to hire so many new teachers. Well, yeah, but don't fire the old ones.
And over the next 10 years, with so many baby boomers retiring from our classrooms, we want to prepare 100,000 new teachers in the fields of science and technology and engineering and math.
I would like to see the state get its act together and solidify funding for education.
I don't see how they do it, and I'm amazed that they still show up for work and that they aren't just leaving en masse and going and finding new careers. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. I mean, if this continues, the stress is going to be so great that they're not going to be able to stick this out and endure it year after year.
Dance from your heart. Just dance from your heart.
Find something that you're passionate about and find a purpose.
Keep music in your life. It will give your life meaning, it will nurture your soul, and it will make you a compassionate person.
Even on a bad day, we really care about each and every one of you. Even though it's hard for you to understand, because we spend most of our day so drained of energy, but we really care about you a great deal, more than you know. And I really do care about my students.
so the question is whether all of us, as citizens and as parents, are willing to do what's necessary to give every child a chance to succeed. In fact, every young person listening tonight who's contemplating their career choice, if you want to make a difference in the life of our nation, if you want to make a difference in the life of a child, become a teacher. Your country needs you.